Welcome back to Studio Life, everybody. Today we're looking at something that was suggested in the comments. They either go one way or the other, those ones. But yeah, thought this one was quite interesting, so I had a look. So we're having a look at the Softube Tsar 1, T-S-A-R, Tsar 1 reverb. Let's find out. Is it? Softube. Don't look at their stuff very often. Went through a spate of looking at loads, but yeah, been a while. So let's have a look at the Tsar 1 reverb. First thing to notice is that it's not modeled on any particular reverb. It's not based on an old hardware unit, and it's, you know, the algorithms aren't from anything in particular. It's just someone started with a blank slate and thought, I'm going to make a reverb. Which is no bad thing, you know. I love my Lexicon reverbs. And, you know, the EMT plate, and there's a few other things which are nice to have just because they're familiar. But reverbs, to be honest, most of the time, I'm all right with something being completely original. The look of it. Whitesey's not going to like it. It's got wooden end caps, which he's not going to like that. But I like the look of it. I like this sort of similar to the old Lexicon Lark vibe, where you've got a bunch of sliders which control all the main parameters. You've got these pots up the top here, and some LEDs you can click on. So, anyway, let's go through it. So yeah, this top panel, you've got like your main stuff. You've got your output volume over there. You've got your reverb wet dry mix there. And then over a bit, we've got a pot which flips between earlier reflections and the main reverb. That's nice to be able to set that. We've then got these LED sort of settings. So you've got your early reflections. You can have them as large, medium or small. We've then got diffusion, which can be high, medium or low. And we've then got modulation, which can be fast, slow or random. Modulation, you might ask, why is that there? Well, modulated tails on reverbs are kind of a thing, aren't they? That's kind of reverbs of the 80s. There was a lot of that going on. Modulated tails can really make things sound lush. So yeah, nice to have. We've then got these faders or sliders, whatever you want to call them, down the bottom. So we've got one for pre-delay. Shall I explain pre-delay? Everyone know what pre-delay is? I don't know. Pre-delay, how long before the reverb starts? For example, if you're putting reverb on a vocal track, it's good to have some pre-delay so that you can hear the nuance in the vocal. You can actually hear the word that's being sung before the reverb gets in the way and mushes it all up. So depending on the tempo, for your average tempo song, somewhere around 20 milliseconds will be a good pre-delay for a vocal so that you can hear what's being said, and then the reverb hits immediately afterwards. You can experiment with that. It will do different things to different instruments. Drums, for example, the pre-delay can sound really weird if it's too big, but if it's too small, that can sound a bit odd as well. So it's all about getting it right and kind of matching it to the tempo a lot of the time. We've then got reverb time, how long the reverb lasts. It goes up to 15 seconds on the slider. I presume that changes, and maybe it doesn't. 15's plenty. You don't need anything longer than that. We've then got diffusion, and diffusion is kind of how dense. Is it dense? What's a good way to describe diffusion? How much of a splash, let's say, a snare makes when you hit it. So to be able to bring it right down to doing not much of that at all and to doing loads, again, it can be a wildly different sound. We've then got tone between bright, neutral and dark. I really like a dark reverb. There's something very special about them. A bright reverb, let's say you put a bright reverb on your drums. You then really can't put a bright reverb on the vocal as well, because they'll all just get in each other's way. So it's nice to be able to move them about, have it set differently, experiment with it. It's very tempting to make everything bright, but sometimes a dark reverb sounds awesome. And then we've got a high cut, and it goes from 20k and you bring it down to 200 hertz. Well, that's quite severe. But sometimes you want to get rid of that high sort of sparkly, wispy stuff at the top end of a reverb. On a vocal, sometimes if you've got a bit of, you know, sibilance, it can make things worse. Sometimes on drums, the cymbals are already going off a bit mad. You don't want to make things worse with a load of high-end reverb, so you can nudge it back just to a nicer place. And you might be thinking, well, can't I use the dark, you know, the dark setting on the tone slider? You could. It's a combination of the two. They're slightly different the way they work. That's kind of it. You've got input and output meters here, and because it's a Softube plugin, they've got this thing where on some of their plugins you get these expanded windows, so you've got a more expansive version of the input meters and the output meters, and you can see the gain difference. There's a high pass control, really useful for a reverb. Sometimes you don't want reverbs wallowing around down below 100 hertz very often. You can give yourself increased headroom, and you can invert the phase if you want, which you might need to do now and again with a reverb. That's about it. Let's talk about demo. It's 20 days, same as all Softube plugins, which is pretty fair. Cost-wise, right now it's $149. Now, Black Friday is hitting probably around the time this video comes out. It might be in a sale somewhere. I don't know, but the normal price is $149. That's a bit much, I think. It's a little bit much. But this does sound excellent, and it excels at one particular thing for me: small rooms. When you have it set so that it's kind of like in a studio setting or a small room setting, for drums it sounds great. For like acoustic guitar and vocal, you hear on the demo track, you can make it sound like they're in a really small little room, but it gives it such a lot of life. I'm always excited by small room sounds on reverbs because I think they're the hardest to do. It's quite easy to do a big lush reverb, but to get a small room to sound legit, to fool your brain that it's in a small room, is quite hard, and this is good at that. But yeah, 149, yeah, a bit much, I think. Anyway, before I give it a star rating, I'm going to tell you there's something else quite interesting here, in that there's another version. They do the Tsar 1R. Now, I don't know if the R stands for reduced or redacted. I don't know. But it's a slimmed down version of this. So let's have a quick look at that. As you can see, very similar interface, but just, everything squashed down, giving you the bare minimum. So you've got a pre-delay slider and you've got a reverb time slider. You've got color, bright, neutral or dark. You've got your wet dry mix and an output volume, and that's your lot. However, this can do the cool thing that the other one can do. This does the small room thing just as well. Yeah, pretty shocked at how good it was in comparison to the other one. I'm not saying it's better. I'm saying the bit of the other one I like, this can do that. So if I was going to buy one or the other, I'd probably get this. I've got plenty of other reverbs that can do the big lush thing. The difference is, obviously, it's still got the same 20-day demo, but this one is only $89. That's a big saving. That's a big saving. And again, this might be on sale somewhere very soon. So go and have a look. Anyway, yeah, that's about it. Let's do the star rating then. Well, I'm going to say 4 stars for the Tsar one, the main one. I think it's awesome. It's just the price is a little bit much. For the Tsar 1R, this cut down version, I'm also going to say 4 stars. Similar reason, I still think 89 is a little bit much. They could have got this down below $50, I think, realistically. But other than that, I think they're both good. Go and check them out. Listen to the demo at the end. Let me know what you think. Anyway, if you could like the video, that would really help. If you could subscribe to the channel, that would help even more. We hit 11,000 subs last week, so that's pretty nice. Thank you for that. You can also check out my Instagram, which is Mixdown Mastering, see what I get up to in here every day. There's also the Studio Life website where there's the top 5 plugins, and you can also check out the courses on mixing and mastering and compression. And if you go and look on my Instagram, you'll be able to find there's a code somewhere that will get you quite a big discount on those courses right now. Anyway, that's all. I'll see you next time. Adios.